Yeah, and Remco, when we look on paper, his date of birth, his age, he is still a young rider, but this guy is already a proven bona fide champion of the sport, and he's Belgian. Even the headline, the quote of his after Romandie of like, I found the sensation, or I found the rhythm again.
That race is the most unpredictable race ever. You can name all the favorites and somebody's going to crop up that you weren't thinking about.
Welcome back to Beyond the Podium. We got a great show for you today, recapping last week's Tour of Romandie, the last spring stage race showdown before we head into the quickly upcoming Giro d'Italia. A lot to recap in Romandie. We had João Almeida snatching that GC victory, securing it in the last day time trial. Also in that time trial, and of hot topic right now, Remco Evenepoel gets that nice big win in the final stage of Romandie, but still wondering, still checking in, is he on track, making that comeback for the Tour de France? Plenty to talk about from Romandie. Also, quickly approaching on the horizon, the Giro d'Italia. We're going to look into Primoz Roglič, his fight for the GC there, and talk his other top contenders. So with me to do that today, Tejay van Garderen. Welcome back, Tejay, to the show. Awesome to have you here. Tejay, I was just trying to hype Romandie. You're straight off the ground, right? I think you were trying to get out of doing the show, man. You got quick sandwich of free time between Romandie and the Giro, and we managed to hook you in. So sorry you couldn't evade us, and we looped you into the mic here. But I'm super stoked to hear about your take from Romandie and how it's going into the Giro for you and your team as well.
Brent, I'm always happy to kick it and talk bike racing with you, man. I mean, yeah, I did just get home today from Romandie. It was a bit of a mixed bag for our team, EF Education Easy Post. We had 2 days in the leader's jersey, but we couldn't quite hang on to it on the big mountain stage and then the TT. But Romandie, it's always a weird race. I mean, I was looking at the start list of the Giro, and I looked at the top 5 of the finishers in Romandie, and none of those guys are even racing the Giro. So it's it sits on this weird place in the calendar where some guys are stretching out from the Ardennes. Some guys are maybe going to race the Tour and they're stretching out, going out, trying to, delay their altitude camp. And then you got some guys prepping for the Giro, but most of the guys doing the Giro, they don't even race Romandie. It just sits in this awkward spot on the calendar. But
yeah, I hear you.
UAE, obviously, in their dominant force, they finished first and third on GC, continuing their romp through the season. And João Almeida definitely came off with an impressive victory.
Yeah, Tejay, let's wrap on Romandie a little bit and just that calendar placement. I think you and I have actually raced that race as teammates. I agree. It is kind of a tricky time on the calendar. For me personally, it was always coming off the Ardennes and almost before like a little wind down, or maybe that I was trying to hold it through Tour of California in May. Honestly, I was always kind of mind blown that Giro riders would use Romandie because it is so close. And I always thought it was just brutally hellacious in terms of the physicality at Romandie. Like the weather was often really cold and rainy. You're up in the high mountains. I was always kind of shocked that guys could back up Romandie with the Giro. The argument was always, if you're in that good a shape for the Giro anyway, Romandie is not going to kill you. You were a GC guy. You've done Romandie. Tell us how that fits in. Did you ever do Romandie in the lead up to the Giro, and how do you see it evolving in this modern day peloton where you just observed and described it well? There's not that many guys, at least of the GC guys, doing that, heading straight to the Giro from Romandie.
It is a risk, and you hit the nail on the head. The biggest risk is the weather. We had really, really good weather this year in terms of Romandie because like Switzerland in the spring can just be really hit or miss. But if you look at Romandie in terms of the other 1 week stage races, World Tour stage races, it starts with a prologue, finishes with a time trial. So the volume is not that big. The intensity kind of goes down a bit. A 17-kilometer time trial is not going to take that much out of you in the elite ranks. So it's really just a 4-day race. It's a 4-day race in a time that you would be doing a 4-day training block, and you're getting massage and you're eating your race meals, you're getting your meals prepped, you're getting your laundry done. So it's it's one of those races that it does fit pretty well. It does not have the it doesn't have the training load that like a Dauphiné or the Tour of Switzerland would, or a Paris-Nice or a Catalunya would. However,
I hear you.
You know, a lot of the guys, they do opt for Tour of the Alps, but actually, I've kind of noticed this. A lot of the guys racing the Giro don't race at all in April. You look at Primoz Roglič, his last race was Catalunya. You look at Juan Ayuso, his last race was Catalunya. You look at Richard Carapaz, his last race was Catalunya. Like, and you look at all the guys, and I know Tiberi, he raced in Alps. Almost no contender for the Giro really raced in Romandie. Like, where are all these guys in April? Do they just take the month off?
Oh, you know where they are, TJ. They're monking out on the top of a mountain. They're regiming at an altitude camp. Am I right?
What's going to happen in the Tour? What's going to happen in the lead up for the Tour? Are people going to stop racing the June races? Are they going to just skip Swiss and Rome and the Dauphiné and L'Occitanie or whatever they do?
You remember
is it just going to be like you're just going to take the month off before the biggest race of the year?
That's what our colleague Paul Burmeister from the studio, he asked us that question genuinely last year. He said, guys, as a football guy, am I missing something here? Why do these guys even race before the Tour? Everyone's breaking bones, getting hurt. It's just one big training session, rock up to the day one of the Tour de France, and let's go. So tell us, TJ, now you're a director, you're involved in the conversation within the team. How is your team like navigating those decisions of where to send a guy, how to balance that dynamic of risk in races, training, tuning quality of races, chance to get results in the build for a race like the Giro?
Yeah, it's always a fight between the coaches, the directors, because directors, sometimes you just need bodies, right? Like, you need people to be here, you need people to be there. Some guys get sick, some guys are injured, so you can make a perfect plan, but the plan always goes to hell because you're just missing guys. So you need guys to fill in, and it can never be perfect. But you know as good as me, Brent, that like you cannot replicate training with racing, because
absolutely, yeah,
all the nuances and all like the micro surges and all that stuff that happens in a race, the stress, the whatever, but also handling the weather. Yeah. You hit on that earlier with the weather that we've been accustomed to in Romandie. I mean, I don't think I've ever raced a Romandie in my career that actually got raced from start to finish and we did all the kilometers that were expected, because it was always shortened or canceled because there was snow. We had to skip this mountain pass.
Looking for our skis.
Take the cars. Yeah, we had to take the cars up into this train station to like go through this tunnel to like skip this mountain pass that was snowed out or whatever. But so they didn't have to deal with that. But how many of being said, the racing, you can't replicate that in training.
How many of the guys we talk about this a lot, though, this revolution of like controlling everything, the scientific nature of the training. Give me an inside glimpse to your team specifically. How many of the guys want to race? Because as I observe and talk to some of my former colleagues and am still plugged into the peloton, like, you look at a guy like one of our Giro contenders, Adam Yates, that we're talking about. That dude loves going. He's a gamer. He loves racing, but he also loves like going to a training camp, focusing on what he can control, just getting out of the media, getting out of the limelight. How many of the guys on your team, what's the balance and dynamic like of guys that are like, let me race? They're like chomping at the bit. They're racers versus like, oh, let me just go focus down, control everything I can, and I'll trust me, I'll be good.
It's a mixed bag. Some of the guys, they're very methodical. They like their training. They like their nutrition. They like to control all the variables you can. But you and I both know, Brent, cycling it's an imperfect sport. You know, you cannot control everything. And sometimes actually with those guys that like to control everything, we have to take them out of their comfort zone. And we have to be like, look, you're going to end up waking up at this time. The start time's here. You're going to have your meal time there, and you're going to race this. And guess what? That's part of being a bike racer, and because you can't control everything. And every now and then you're going to have to get sent somewhere that maybe wasn't on the plan, because that's just what we need to do. And sometimes it's hard for people to adjust. Sometimes people adjust super easily. Like Greg Van Avermaet, he was a teammate of both of ours, and he was the guy who he did not care. You send him anywhere, you send him. You could send him to like a climbing race, a flat race, cobbled classics. You could send him to something that wasn't on his program. He did not care. He was just like cool, and he would probably win
I'll
something.
race. Yeah.
He was just a gamer and a racer. And so we have those guys. Like we definitely have those kind of Greg Van Avermaet types. Like Nielsen Palace is one of them. He's down to race whenever. And then there's some guys who really like that build up. But I think it's good for them to just, get out of their comfort zone a little.
Bring them out of the comfort zone. Yeah. Speaking of being out of the comfort zone, let's take that right into Remco Evenepoel. He's been out of his comfort zone. I mean, we saw him at Liège. He was like 30th wheel, 40th wheel at Blas Redoute. That was not the Remco Evenepoel, Liège-Bastogne-Liège comfort zone that we've become accustomed to watching. Clearly still coming back, building some form, recovering from those injuries earlier this season. He did the tight turnaround. Liège on a Sunday, Romandie starts a Tuesday. Not to go back into memory lane, but I remember that transfer being pretty nuts. Like, yeah, you have dinner at the Brussels airport on Sunday night late. You're on your TT bike the next day, recon on a prologue. Oh, grim. But Remco didn't have a dominant Romandie by any means, but he did win the final TT. He was in the race. He was going in moves, going in breaks. Maybe not the climbing level. Definitely not the climbing level. Absolutely not the climbing level of a Tour de France contender. What are we thinking about warning signs on track for the Tour de France? I mean, he's the world champion time trialist. We kind of almost expect him to win that last TT, but he is off the mark in terms of the other GC guys in the fight for Tour de France form. So yeah, what are your thoughts, TJ, on his comeback towards the Tour, and is he on track, or is Quick-Step starting to hit the alarm bell?
Nah. I mean, what has Jonas Vingegaard done? I haven't seen him in a minute now. I would say that Remco Evenepoel, he's ahead of Jonas Vingegaard. Okay, Tadej Pogačar, he's been on a rampage this season. He's doing Tadej Pogačar things, but I'm not worried about Remco. If you remember the same crash that Jonas Vingegaard nearly died from 6 weeks before the Tour last year, and he came up to finish second. Remco Evenepoel had a similar situation this December. It just didn't get televised. It wasn't on camera. We didn't get to see him going in the ambulance. So people kind of forget that this guy's coming back from a big injury. He won the first race he did back. Okay, yeah, his climbing legs might not be there. His time trialing legs surely are there. But I mean, he has plenty of time to build up. People are just starting their altitude camps. They're taking breaks from the Ardennes Classics, and Tadej Pogačar, he's definitely going to need a big rest after that big monument season that he just had. People are starting their altitude, they're taking rest, they're shifting gears, and Remco, he's just building. So when I look at where Remco is now, he's far and away ahead of where I assumed he would be coming back from those injuries. So
good point.
The fact that he's not. Yeah, okay, Remco at his best, he would have won Romandie by 2 minutes. The fact that he only finished top 10 and won the final TT, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, it makes sense. You do point out a good point, TJ, in that we're so quick to forget, and as fans too. You flash back just over a week earlier to Brabantse-Pijl, where he's in his first race back and smashing up Wout van Aert at the finish. Everyone's blown away.
In a sprint.
And in a sprint. So that almost made me like, I think as fans, like we see that and we jump on it and we want to like readjust the bar. And it's like, oh, Remco's back. This is what we're going to see in every race now. And it's easy to forget, like Brabantse-Pijl is a different sort of test and physiology than the Tour of Romandie when you're climbing for an hour back to back to back days. And I even to what I just pointed out about that quick turnaround from Liège to Romandie, when Remco's at his best, fully fit and flying, that turnaround's nothing for him. But as you're building form, like a big one-day classic with a day of travel in between and then jumping into the next stage race, it hits a little different. So I think he's still on track as well. I agree with you. And I think traditionally May is such a big build time for the Tour. He's still got all that ahead.
Yeah, one more point I'm going to make is that everyone in last year's Tour de France assumed that you got to hit Jonas early because he's going to build form throughout the Tour because he had that crash. And, you know, he's probably going to start a little bit slow, but maybe build throughout. But the opposite ended up happening. He ended up starting really fast and declining throughout because he didn't have that base and that buildup. So what we saw, I think, from Remco was a similar thing. He won the first race back. He was still good in Amstel. He was a little bit worse in Liège, and then he was maybe slightly going down in Romandie. But those are like back-to-back races, and hard races too. Those aren't just like Mickey Mouse races. I mean, so I think what he has that level of fitness. He just doesn't have that base underneath him, but he has time to build that up throughout May and June, and you know he'll be ready
Absolutely.
to go in July.
Yeah, and Remco, you know, when we look on paper, his date of birth, his age, he is still a young rider, but this guy is already a proven bona fide champion of the sport, and he's Belgian. Even the headline, the quote of his after Romandie of like, I found the sensation, or I found the rhythm again. I can feel myself inside that quick step bus with everyone kind of like just kind of giving him the nod, like, yeah, Remco, now we go. Now you're good. You find the sensation. And I think Remco is probably quite calm. I think, yeah, when he looks back at the past couple of weeks as a phase one of racing comeback after that injury, seeing how far he's traveled, you made a really good point about the access we had to the situation of that injury and of the crash. I think he's still looking good for the Tour, and honestly, as fans, we're all hoping for it too. We want him in the mix. We want that go back to that big three conversation like we had last year and play it again and keep him in the mix as that dominant time trialist.
Yeah, I have no doubt. But also in terms of Romandie, there was like some names that popped up, like Junior Lesef from Quick Step, who you know, he had a super good ride. There was Leonard. Yeah.
Martinez.
I don't know. There was just
yeah.
No, not Lenny Martinez. There was the Lotto kid, Leonard. Also Fortunato from Astana. Like that's the thing about Romandie. It's just this race that names crop up and you're like, okay, this is a big World Tour stage race, and we're seeing some names crop up that can really make a name for themselves that we don't
for the future
often talk about.
Matt Brennan, and we're already talking about him.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways,
so
move on to the Giro.
Yeah, after all that, the winner of Romandie was João Almeida. This guy, he's having, I think by all accounts, he's having an incredible season. One Tour of the Basque Country, just one Tour of Romandie, just consistently always there. We know come July he's going to be in the support role for Tadej Pogačar, but this team is once again showing its depth. It's not just João Almeida up there. Jay Vine also up there in the mix. They have so many GC guys. This stack of GC guys that could be outright leaders for all the races on any other team. I think it's smart of them to give João Almeida, give him his time, give him his chance. He's grabbing big points and he's getting the wins, and hopefully that'll just make him all the more loyal and content and passionate to support his leader Tadej Pogačar in July. You saw him from the car, TJ. He said in his post-race interviews, "Oh, actually, I didn't feel that good. I was kind of hanging on." And you know, in the last couple of days, I'm like watching the highlights and the recaps, going, "This is not the guy that was holding on. He didn't win a stage, but super consistent, which is the name of the game in GC racing."
Yeah, I would love to have legs like that, not feeling very good, but yeah, he was great. I mean, we've always known who João Almeida is. He's a super good time trialer, super good climber. I mean, he's still not in there with the 5-star favorites. He's not punching his name into the Primoz Roglič's and the Vingegos and the Tadej Pogačars of the world, but you can tell that he's coming, and he wants to be in that conversation. Obviously, he's going to be loyal to his teammate Tadej Pogačar come July, but you know he's ready to take his chance in whatever 1 week stage race or whatever maybe like a Giro or Vuelta, like he could be a name to be reckoned with. He's already been podium, and I believe it was the Vuelta and the Giro. So no, he's an amazing rider, and we're gonna be seeing João Almeida for many years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Super versatile. An interesting dynamic. I think, talking about that team, the commitment to their outright leader, the world's best, Tadej Pogačar, that team is giving João Almeida sort of this block of stage races to give his chance to go for it. Meanwhile, Juan Ayuso, one of the other super domestiques or super GC guys that we saw last year working for Tadej Pogačar in the Tour, he's getting his shot, his go at leadership in the Giro. So a little different teammate track from João Almeida. But let's go into the Giro now. Preview the Giro. I think the name that's probably on the front of my mind, the top of my headline, is Primoz Roglič. Is he about to win his 6th Grand Tour? But if I'm going to point to one guy that's going to prevent him from doing it, and not just guy but team, it's for me, it's Juan Ayuso. So I think I'd put Roglič still the favorite on paper as an individual GC champion, but man, this UAE team is so deep, and Ayuso has that youth, that youthful enthusiasm. We saw him last year at the Tour, even kind of like sticking his nose up there, maybe like even saving a little bit. This guy's a champ. He wants to win. So I also think he's ready for the big fight over 3 weeks. What do you think, TJ, about the Roglič Ayuso matchup? And am I missing anyone that's on the level of those two?
I mean, those are definitely the two big favorites. Carapaz, I mean, I'm gonna plug my EF guy there a bit. I know he's in good shape, and he's going to be going for it. And he's also a proven Giro d'Italia winner and Grand Tour contender. So, but as well as me, Brent, you've raced plenty of Giros. You've raced more Giros than I have. That race is the most unpredictable race ever. You can name all the favorites, and somebody's going to crop up that you weren't thinking about. And
absolutely.
I don't know. Like if I were to name a dark horse, I'd say Antonio Tabiri. He's been looking really good for Bahrain Victorious. I mean, he's been super strong all season, and he had a really good Giro last year, and
maybe the podium.
The course suits him well. Maybe the podium, but I don't know. Like
maybe the podium. I don't know.
It always has a way of like throwing a curveball at you. Like nobody was picking Ryder Hesjedal back in 2012. Nobody was picking Tom Dumoulin back in 2017. Nobody was picking, I don't know, you name it. You know that race, Brent. Like it always has a way of kind of just throwing a curveball and being like, whoa, nobody saw that guy coming.
Absolutely. It's an expect the unexpected. And there is a really stacked list. I still put Ayuso, Roglič at the top, but underneath that, I mean, even going to Ayuso's teammate, Adam Yates, even his brother, Simon Yates. Simon Yates, Visma Lease bike, one of, if not the best GC teams in the world. No one's even talking about Simon Yates. So yeah, those are more like consistent perennial GC guys. And then right with them, I agree. We have Ciccone, who's also Italian, super motivated. Tiberi. It's an exciting list, that's right under those guys. Who else is coming to my mind? Even Derek G. Like, I think we haven't seen his GC potential totally tapped out either. So I think going into it, we only can work with what we've got, and that's the start in Albania. We've got as classic Giro right off the gun.
Another thing, none of these guys are racing. None of these guys are racing in April, so we don't have anything.
We don't even know. I know, it's true. We're shooting in the dark a little bit.
We're kind of like throwing darts at the wall and being like, I don't know, I haven't seen this guy in a month, so maybe he's good, maybe he's not.
TJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think are you doing the first week of the Giro or the first half, or how's that breakdown?
Yeah, I do the first half of the Giro.
Okay. So through stage 9, through the first real rest day?
I go until the 19th, until Florence. So yeah. I don't know exactly.
You'll be there.
That's about second rest day.
Tell us you've done some prep. You're going to direct the team. Tell us about, you've actually probably looked into that race book, that super dense race Bible they give us at the Giro. Tell me about the first week from the director point of view. You've been in Novella viewer. give us the quick rundown on what the highlights are and what maybe someone who's just kind of watching from afar is not going to realize. For me, I'm super psyched about, for one, the start in Albania, I think is really interesting. Classic Giro up and down right at the start. But I love the Strada Bianca. We're going back to Siena at I think it's stage 9. We're going to get some white roads in Tuscany. I'm really excited about that and the chance to create some spectator loving chaos in the race. But tell us about your perspective of that first half that you're going to direct.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they have a long time trial on stage 2 in Albania. So I'm really curious, and I've been kind of digging deep on that. It doesn't look like the most complicated time trial, but it's like uphill. So the GC is already going to separate itself there. And I think Primoz Roglič is going to have the upper hand there. And then from there, it's going to be whoever wins that time trial is probably going to take the pink jersey, and then they're going to have to control. So that's going to take something out of their team. So then what my curiosity is somebody going to give away the jersey to a breakaway, like loan the jersey out so that they can take pressure off of their team? That's maybe a situation where some of these lower teams can maybe take advantage and be like, okay, they're not going to want to control from stage 2 all the way to the end, because people don't typically go to the Giro with the strongest team, the most dominant team, like the way you see in the Tour de France, to just be able to, put 30 million euro roster on the front and just pull everything back. They're going to have to be smart about it. So maybe you're going to see like an FDJ guy go on the break or something like that. And then you're going to see like maybe somebody get a chance to get that pink jersey in stages 6 or 7. And then obviously once you get to the big mountains, then the favorites are going to take over. But I don't know. That's what I'm curious about, is like who is going to be that sort of breakaway specialist like that we saw in the Tour last year with Abrahamson, like maybe a rider like that
time,
can take
getting the jerseys
4 or 5 days.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I think Giro, I just always think Italian riders. Like, yeah, the French are into the Tour, but the French always felt like the Tour de France feels like such a more international affair, where the Giro for me always felt like quintessential Italy. Like, I don't think there can be a more passionate rider in his home country than an Italian at the Giro. So I'll definitely be looking for the Italians to step up in that role. But yeah, the third week, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. That's going to, I think, finally shape the GC. The third week of the Giro is always just so heavy, so much accumulated climbing. We're looking at minutes. And that's what I think, if you're anything like the directors we used to have, TJ, they're saying, yeah, it's seconds in the first week and seconds in the second week, and it's minutes in the third week. So we'll see. The real Giro will start on stage 16. But one of the differences this year too is there's only, I think, if I'm right, 3 summit finishes, which is also a little uncharacteristic for Giro, where the GC guys can all just like time it and do these power tests on the last climb. Without these summit finishes, it's still going to be a hugely physical effort, masses and masses of climbing, but it can definitely yield to be a little more tactical, of guys going early, guys sending teammates up the road, and that's going to make for some exciting racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no such thing as an easy Giro d'Italia. And sometimes when it's not a summit finish, if it finishes on a descent and in the valley, the groups separate out, they don't work well together, and the time gaps actually get even bigger. So when it's a summit finish, everyone pushes as hard as they can to the line, whereas other times they're like, we're not going to tow you. Come on, pull through. And then you end up losing 30 seconds here and there. So I think we're going to see, there's no doubt that the best rider is going to win the Giro. It's not going to be a tactical battle in that sense. But yeah, I actually think that the Giro last year, I think it kind of realized that if you make it a little bit easier, and not easier in the sense of like, because no race is easy, but easier in the sense of like the overall accumulated load of all those climbings and all those steep climbs. Last year, I was one of the fewest altitude meters climbed in the Giro. And I think that was because they wanted to attract some of the main stars that were also going to be racing the Tour. So they're trying to be like, okay, you're going to race the Tour. We're going to make the Giro like this so that you can actually have some gas left in the tank for July. And that's why you're seeing guys like Roglič and Ayuso and some of these other guys racing the Giro.
All right, let's talk podium predictions. We're way far out. We can only use what we have now. You've got more than me, TJ, because you've been watching these guys from the team car all year. But I'm going to say Primoz Roglič, Juan Ayuso, and then I'm going to throw my my third podium spot to my old teammate, Simon Yates. What do you got for podium, DJ?
I got Primoz Roglič, Juan Ayuso, and Richard Carapaz. I'm not betting against EF for the podium.
Hey, he's won it before, so no slouch to claim a podium.
He knows how to win that thing. He does know how to win that thing, so he can do it again.
All right, TJ. Well, hey, send us some inside beta from the team car as you get over to Albania, and yeah, we're wishing you all the best too for that first big week. I know it's tough for the riders, but man, you directors you guys are full on too. A bunch of transfers, and hopefully you'll get out for a run or two too, man. Keep you fit for our rendezvous in July.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to buy any new suits, so I need to be able to fit into all those suits that I had last year, because that's got to keep me motivated to get out for a run in the morning during the Giro.
Hey man, if Remco Evenepoel has time and we believe in him, I believe in you too. You got time. Everything can happen. All right, TJ. Awesome catching up with you. To everyone else, thanks for joining us on Beyond the Podium, and we'll see you next time.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.